So this has been a great turnout. Thank you guys all for coming. I'm Stephanie Cronin. I'm the Executive Director of the Middlesex 3 Coalition. You like the music? Thank you to our keynote speaker, Dr. Emily Reichert, the CEO of the UMass Clean Energy Center, for coming. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you to our special guests as well. We're going to meet some in a few minutes. And thank you, everyone, for coming this morning. Welcome to the Middlesex 3 2025 annual meeting. Today's a day of celebrating what we've accomplished, reflecting on our beginnings, and looking forward to how we can continue to connect, create, collaborate, grow, and improve economic development in the region. However, before we start the meeting agenda, I would like to introduce Robert Maynard, the Billerica Assistant Town Manager. Hey, are you coming up here? Okay, come on up.
Hi, everybody. I just started in my role in Billerica as the Assistant Town Manager, and as I'm sure some of you are aware, we are going through a bit of a leadership change in the town. So I just wanted to come out to confirm that the town is still open for business, so please feel free to reach out. We're very willing to work with anybody who wants to come. So thank you all very much.
So, thank you, Robert. I don't know if you know, but I used to be Economic Development Director for the town of Billerica, and although I love all my communities, I have, Billerica is near and dear to me. There you go. I know that's Catherine, yeah. But that's not the reason we're here today. We're here today because this is an excellent building for a clean tech company, for an advanced manufacturing company, and it's vacant right now, but maybe next year, hopefully, it won't be. So we want to take advantage of it. We want to get some eyes on it. We want to fill it. So thank you to Marcus Partners. Mike, Sheila, you guys have been great to work with, and thank you for hosting us at 23 Esquire and helping us to showcase that this is a fantastic area for clean tech companies. Thank you to the clean tech companies and the business resources that were at our mini expo back there. We're really trying to use this meeting as a way to connect our businesses and our resources. And by the way, can you hear me way back there? I know, that this, I'm going to say that's a thumbs up. All right, thank you. So if you didn't get a chance to check out the companies and the organizations that are displayed at our mini expo, please check them out before you leave. And thank you to our sponsors, Marcus Partners, Rhino Capital, Enterprise Bay, Erling Construction, and Reamer and Braunstein for sponsoring this event. They're all leaders in developing this region, and thank you all for your partnership. Okay, so the one thing that I have to do at the annual meeting, at least in order to keep in good standing with the Commonwealth, is to elect my board members in my executive committee of the next year. But before I ask my board to do this, I would like to just take a moment and thank my board for all your hard work, your feedback, your guidance over the years. I have a fantastic board of directors. I hope you guys can all see them here. And you probably know many of them. And I won't ask them to stand because I know they won't appreciate that. But I would like to invite you all to please join me in thanking my board for all your hard work and service. So with that, I'm putting forward a slate of board members for the upcoming 3 years. And I'd like to ask Scott Weiss from Terrascuppi, he's my go-to, there he is. If you could help make a motion to elect the board members for the terms indicated on the presentation at the annual meeting.
So moved.
Thank you. All right. Can I get a second? Who's that? Judy. Okay. Thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right. And the motion passes. Thank you all. And I do want to give a quick shout out to a few of the new members who will be joining, including Alan Weary from UMass Lowell's Applied Research Corporation, Kyle DePel from Erling Construction, Steve Bartha, the Lexington Town Manager, John Curran, the Tewksbury Town Manager, and Robert Maynard, Billerica Assistant Town Manager. Just raise your hands if you would. And thank you guys for joining the board for all your work. Okay. Sorry. One more motion. I need a motion to elect the following board members to the Middlesex 3 Executive Committee for a term ending on June 30th, 2026. So, thank you, Scott. Second. Yes, thank you. All in favor? I gotta do that. I'm sorry. Thank you. It passes. We're done with the work. Okay, on to the fun part. Okay. I don't know if you can see that very well. This, but okay. But I'll tell you what it says. There's a lot that's been happening at the coalition over the last year and a half, really, when we did our last meeting. We had 25 different events with 99 speakers, almost 2,000 attendees who drank about 3,000 cups of coffee. So a lot of coffee. We welcomed over 65 new members, and we've had 340 new followers on social media. So a lot going on. And I wouldn't want to do these events without a strong staff. And we have a great one. So please, could you help me to thank the Middlesex 3 staff? Sorry. I do want to, including George Katchen, Asha Patel, Rich Bizzuti, Melissa Jensen-Gorski, and Miriam Elsa. Thank you. So if you're new or even relatively new member, welcome. Please, if you see your logo on here, raise your hand. Welcome to the Middlesex 3 Coalition. We are a convener at the heart of all of it. We want to bring people together with the public and the private sector to, again, connect, collaborate, create, grow, and improve economic development in the region. Thank you. And we do this in a number of different ways. It could be as simple as networking at events or meet and greet, coffee connections, whatever you call them. It's really just an opportunity to build relationships, partnerships, with the businesses and the municipalities among the public and private sectors. And we have great resources in the region as well, and in the Commonwealth. And they're here to help you improve economic development. And many of them are here at the expo, including Mass CEC. And through our resource meetings, our mini expos, our workforce programs, our newsletters, our social media, we want to introduce you to the resources that are out there. So bottom line is, if you need resources, if you need connections, if you need programs, contact us. That's our job, is to connect you with the programs that are available. Contact us and we'll connect you. Or contact Business Front Door, which the state is putting together. More on that. So over the next year, we're going to continue to host events to highlight the regions and inform the community on economic development trends. If you receive our newsletters, you probably know about these meetings. I don't probably need to get into too much detail, but if you don't receive our emails or our newsletter, you should. So we'll send you a link to sign up. There's a lot going on, and we really use events in the newsletter to connect with development stakeholders and inform you what's going on in the region. So we want to help it convene. And we do a number of different events, including our annual New England Real Estate Journal, our Real Estate Leadership Series. Thank you to Demetris Spaneas for being our leader moderator for those. Event moderator. We do Legislative Leadership Series to highlight what's happening in the region, the Commonwealth, the federal government. Thank you to April Anderson being the moderator for those meetings. We do a number of different sustainability initiatives, including the Middlesex 3 shuttles that we offer from Boston and Cambridge that come up this way, and they're continuing to grow. We also have the Middlesex 3 Green Team sustainability programs. So thank you to Lynn Garone for helping with sustainability. And then thank you to Tilly Quinn from Transaction to help with our tunnels. So these events they're a great way to bring people together, but and provide opportunities to connect. However, we're also a regional economic development organization. The state has dubbed us a REDO, and they're a great way to help businesses to locate and to expand in the region, and that's part of what we do. And we do this in part by showcasing the real estate that's in the area, such as showcasing the resources, but also highlighting the companies that are already here, that are established here. And we have some outstanding companies in this area, particularly in the 5 key industry cluster of defense, like sciences, healthcare, advanced manufacturing, and clean tech. And I remember when E came to town, they were asked why they came to this area. And they said that they looked at the neighborhood And they knew that they would be in good company. They knew they'd have the workforce that they needed. They knew that the town knew what they were doing, because by looking at all the other companies, they knew that they could operate a successful business here. And that's what we're trying to do with all of our companies. We're trying to let them know that this is a great place to do business. So we do this by bringing our companies together through different roundtables, our defense roundtable, our life science meetings, our healthcare meetings. And our role is to bring these companies together to hear what are their challenges, what are their opportunities, and help them to grow. So we're going to continue to do that. Most recently, what we've done is we've started a clean tech working group. And the purpose of this group is to collaborate with area businesses to create a clean tech community with workforce, real estate, state and local resources to help these companies to expand. If you're interested in being part of this clean tech working group, please see Middlesex 3's Rich Azudi. I know he's around here someplace. Or myself. A photographer. He's taking the photos. Or my newest board member, Kyle DePel. Where's Kyle? He's way in the back. I see one of us. This group is really moving forward, so please, we'd love to get you involved with us. So that's it. That's my spiel and what we've been doing for the last year, where we are. I could go on, but I'll just wrap it. So at this point, I would like to invite Bob Buckley, the vice president of the Middlesex 3 Coalition and the senior partner for Reamer and Bronstein, to the stage. And Bob was one of the first M3 members, and I asked him to give brief remarks about the beginning of the celebration. It's like,
So, Robert, first of all, good graces. Nick, I could say that very high personal honor for Pete to be here today, to do it. It really be one aspect, but also what a few minutes. I want to take you all back. I'll take you back. Check back clock about 18. And it was a conference room. I think it was that opposite pods here. For a number of people there, Scott Weiss, Peter Milano, and Frank Bialecki, Secretary of Government, and April was there. Had an idea. It's on yet. Hello? Had an idea that it's brought private individuals together with public decision makers, try to talk the serious economic issues in a forum that, according to the state, at the highest level of talent, that resolutions be made that would benefit the entire region. Apropos, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And I remember there was a fair degree of skepticism that initial meeting, but I want everyone to just turn around and look to see where we're. I mean, this is absolutely incredible. My professional life, this is probably the thing I'm most proud of. We've addressed housing, addressed transportation, infrastructure, issues that we could go to the state with a certain gravitas that effectuate a robust discussion and hopefully a resolution. And it came right who had an idea, and there was, as I said, a high degree of skepticism that it would work, but the success is why it is evident in the audience today. So, for all those who have worked with us in the past to accomplish what we've done, thank you. I invite everyone who's new to look around and say, if we did this in the last decade, what can we do in the next decade? So, thank you very much. Thank you very much to Stephanie, who's been trying you. And I'm done.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bob. And so with that, I'd like to invite April Anderson, Strategic Partners, and Ray Joseph from Redgate up to the stage.
This might not be the most eloquent delivery, but please forgive me. Thank you very much. I am just going to share a few words about Greg. In 2007, I had the privilege of being in the office to receive Greg on his very first day working in state government. He inherited me with the office furniture as a holdover from the prior administration. And I had read his bio and thought my days in government were numbered. There's no way this guy with this incredible history and prestigious background is going to want to keep me. But shockingly, 2 weeks later, he came into his office, stretched out his hand, shook mine, and the rest was history. For the next 18 years, I had the privilege and the great fortune of working side by side with one of the most brilliant minds ever to encounter state government or any of us in this room. First, we worked together in the Patrick administration. Then I worked as a consultant trying to appeal to the Patrick administration, which is kind of fun. And then I was a consultant to him when he returned to the private sector at Redgate, working with Reed Joseph. And we got the chance to work on many, many different projects together during that time. For nearly 2 decades, I had the opportunity to watch him work. From listening to people, to the inception of ideas, to putting those ideas into practice. He developed new policies, he forged new partnerships like the ones here today, and he created new programs. He championed projects from the Berkshires to the Cape, including such impactful projects like Northwest Park in Burlington and the Hamilton Canal District in Lowell, which are still thriving and growing as we speak. Over those 18 years, I never heard a single bad word about Greg Bialecki. People loved him. And that's hard to say about anybody in any industry over that long stretch of period, but especially hard to find in industries as fickle as politics and real estate. But Greg was different. He was an intellectual giant. His brilliant mind came up with ideas that no one else could have ever imagined, and I'm not sure he even appreciated how far they would go. His wife, Mary, who's here with us today, shares this great story of Greg coming out of the shower, sharing ideas, one day saying, "I have it, I know it, I got the solution." And that was the Growth Districts Initiative, which some people in this room may be familiar with. One was Northwest Park, one was Hamilton Canal. Some of you may have never heard of, as it dates back to the golden ages of the Patrick era, but it really was the foundation of almost every economic development policy that's in place today that we're all continuing to benefit from. I remember Greg coming into the office and sharing his brilliant idea with me, and unfortunately, I had the same skepticism that Bob Buckley shared, and I pointed out all the reasons why this may not work, and we might get criticized for it. And Greg's response was, "So?" He acknowledged that not every idea is perfect, but he couldn't understand why we would continue doing things that we knew were imperfect just because we were afraid. He was completely fearless. To him, the idea of trying something new and hope for change was good enough, even if it didn't quite work the way we had hoped. And that in itself was an innovative idea for government. But it wasn't just his mind that made Greg a giant. It was the way he brought humanity into his work. He was kind, he was gracious, he was thoughtful. He always focused on the glass being half full as opposed to being half empty. He was a great listener, he was humble, and his gentle presence gave people around him the permission to speak up, to share ideas, and to ask for help. He never made anyone feel small. He valued everyone's contribution. It sometimes made for long meetings, sometimes very, very, very long meetings, and a whole lot of lateness. And as an anxious person, this was hard for me to get used to. But no one ever complained about his lateness. He never had to apologize for it, because when he was received in a room, everybody knew he was there, completely present. He would listen. He wanted to hear from people. He wanted to find common ground, even among people with vastly different ideas than his own. Greg quite seriously saw opportunity for new partnerships in every single conversation, and he thought the choice between two opposing views was a false choice. There was always plenty of room to meet in the middle. Greg was a mentor to so many people, and he cared about the people that he worked with and the people that he encountered. He taught us, he guided us, and he supported us in so many ways, including Victoria McGuire, Enrique Perez, Reed Joseph. Every single economic development secretary that came after him sought his guidance. He made us all better employees, better friends, and even better parents. He left an impact on the Commonwealth with his brilliant ideas around innovation policy, transformational development, programs like MassWorks and growth districts, the state's first ever housing production goal, the state's first ever comprehensive regulatory reform, the state's first ever attempt at comprehensive zoning reform, and so many more things. Almost every single economic development policy and program in place today came from a simple idea in Greg Bialecki's mind. But the story goes both ways. Not only did he leave an imprint on the Commonwealth, but the Commonwealth left an imprint on him, lighting a passion for public service that never left him. At the time of his death, Greg, a former cabinet secretary, prestigious lawyer, and real estate giant, was sitting on the member of his local planning board trying to make a change in his own community. From the most impactful policies to the smallest of kind gestures, Greg Bialecki left a legacy that we may never see again. I'm so grateful to Middlesex 3 Coalition, and I know his family shares in this gratitude, to Bob and to Stephanie for suggesting that we name this award in Greg's honor. It's my hope that every year we'll come to this event and the people that know him will be able to celebrate his many accomplishments, and the people that don't will be able to leave here a little bit more inspired to be more like him. We should remember Greg for who he was, for what he did, and for how he did it. I hope that we can all be a little more patient, a little bit more thoughtful, a little bit better of a listener, more apt to pick up the phone and call someone we agree with and try to find common ground. I want us all to remember Greg's legacy of being a believer so that we can move on being believers in ourselves, believers in each other, and believers that we can all, that by working together, we can all do a little bit of good. So thank you for indulging me and sharing a little bit about my friend. But the reason that we're here today is something to be very excited about. When we learned that this was an opportunity and we were going to name these awards after Greg, the first idea that popped to my mind is Tony Fields. Tony has been a town planner for 35 years in municipal planning, and very active in the Middlesex 3 Coalition since the very earliest days. Just when we got here today, he was sharing with me this major improvement that he's carried along in the town of Bedford that I never thought would be possible in a very short period of time, actually. I'm not going to read the notes because the reason why I was really hopeful that we could give Tony this award is because of who he is and how he does his job and how closely that resembles the way that Greg did his job. Tony is impactful, he's humble, he's incredibly skilled, and he is able to lead by example. He's a mentor to many and a friend to many, including me. And I'm very, very proud to recognize Tony Fields as the first ever recipient of the Greg Bialecki Economic Impact Award.
But they get them in that guest maybe. So I was quite humbled when I got this email about this potential award. And then I said, gee, I could probably give you a lecture on zoning if you want to hang around for an hour and a half, or just wait and see. Maybe I'll be asked to give it at MIT in the fall. But I've been privileged to work on a lot of big redevelopment projects over the years, as well as a lot of small things, like literally helping small business figure out how to deal with the various rules and regulations that they don't understand, whereas the big corporations doing these million square foot projects hire the lawyers and the engineers and architects to get the job done. And it's been an interesting ride to have projects in this region of such significance that the Commonwealth would take notice. And for the years, for Greg, and then meeting April and Victoria, working with them and on their end, trying to get even the state agencies to talk to each other and minimize the number of permits that people need to go through. But last month, so most people don't know, I spent 20 years or so as the legislative liaison for the two state planning organizations, the Mass Association of Planning Directors and the Mass chapter of the American Planning Association. And we've been working on zoning reform since, actually when it came here in 1991. And that was John Stasek, the former representative from Framingham, who passed away last month, was one of the first people at the State House to bring together representatives from planning, from environmental causes, from building trades and so on, trying to get people to talk about how we should change the statutes that govern planning and zoning. But we never got any traction in leadership at the State House until Greg Bialecki came and picked up the mantle of, we really should be doing something with zoning. And what I knew we had finally gotten somewhere, and I don't remember why I was in the State House. But I happened to run into Representative Paul Donato with Bedford in the elevator, and I just happened to ask, I said, has this, and I think at the time it was called the Livable Community Center, and he said, has this crossed your desk? And he said, is that the Bialecki thing? And then I kind of knew we'd finally gotten an interim with leadership because Greg Bialecki was able to open the doors that we could not done. So thank you for the support. Greg will be next.
Okay. The other area that I think Greg would be most proud of is the intersection of economic development, the private sector, and academia, and just the whole concept of innovation and how can we promote the innovation economy in Massachusetts more intentionally. So today, we're recognizing Link for its transformative impact on the region and its practical community-centered development. Announced in 2023, Link is a 1.2 million square foot mixed-use project in Lowell that will bring new housing, jobs, and space for growing industries. It includes nearly 500 housing units, with rental prices significantly lower than Boston, and it's expected to create 1,300 construction jobs and 2,000 permanent jobs over the next 10 years. And this is an outstanding economic development partnership between the University of Massachusetts and the private sector. And for this, I am happy to introduce Vice Chancellor John Feudo of UMass Lowell and recognize the university and the Link project as a recipient of the Greg Bialecki Impact Awards.
Had a vote in Thank you. Good morning. On behalf of our Chancellor, Julie Chen, who is somewhere over the Atlantic right now on her way back from the United Kingdom, it's such an honor to accept this award. And it's especially a proud moment for us that this award is named for Greg Bialecki. And so to his family, Dr. Mary Herlihy, Mr. Andrew Bialecki, Dr. Allison Bialecki, this is so important to us, and thank you for keeping Greg's spirit, his drive, his passion, his legacy going strong, because this project, as April mentioned, is exactly what Greg Bialecki was all about. And as I sat there looking at this banner, every word I saw, I thought linked. The Lowell Innovation Network Corridor, as April mentioned, came about in 2023, but it really started as a vision that Marty Meehan had decades ago, that Julie Chen then took when she was Vice Chancellor at UMass Lowell for innovation, research, and economic development. And then as she became Chancellor, this vision became a reality. And it became a reality because of collaboration, because of a lot of people in this room, because of people on your board, people like Lowell City Manager Tom Golden, who has been the absolute best partner that the university could ever hope for. Members of our local legislative group, Greg's successor, one of his successors, Secretary Yvonne Howe, has been a tremendous advocate, as has been the entire Haley Driscoll administration, and of course, our member of Congress, Lori Trahan, who couldn't be a better partner for us. Everybody benefits from the Lowell Innovation Network Corridor. As April said, it's an $800 million public-private partnership, 1.2 million square feet, buildable square feet in Lowell, Massachusetts. Whoever thought you could have more than 1 million buildable square feet, and especially on a college campus? But what we're doing is we're transforming this into an opportunity for industry and education to come together. And so our plan is to have 2 co-location buildings where we will have industry working together with our faculty and students. And UMass Lowell will occupy about 20% of the 600,000 square feet that we'll have. And the reason why industry wants to be with us is they want our faculty and students. They want that talent. They want that access to cutting-edge research, to the knowledge base that our students and our faculty will bring. And so that partnership will come together, and we were thrilled when the first partner to stand up and raise their hand and say, yes, we're coming, was Draper Laboratory. Moving their electronic systems division from Cambridge up to Lowell, bringing jobs, bringing economic development, people moving up to the area, the development of shops and restaurants that we'll need for all of the new workers coming. And then as soon as Draper said yes, Mass General Brigham raised their hand. Mass General Brigham is bringing up their human performance division. SAIC, because they want access to our cybersecurity talent. Homebase, Veterans Rise, Bioversity. People were lining up to be part of the Lowell Innovation Network Corridor. And it wouldn't happen without the collaboration and the partnership of so many people in this room, people throughout the Merrimack Valley. And that's why we're so excited about this project, because everybody will benefit. Tax revenue, housing. We're even looking now at how do we extend beyond the original vision. So for example, we're looking into the possibility of a community ice rink built behind our Songa Center. Now, how many of us have spent countless hours at an ice rink at 4 a.m. with our kids and trying to find the nearest ice available? Well, having this ice rink not only benefits the community, but it frees up the Songa Center more so that way we can bring in, if we can have our Riverhawk hockey team practice in an ice rink, that means we're not turning over the ice in hardwood often enough. We can bring in more conventions, conferences, concerts that again feed the economic development. And as more people come in to use the Sangha Center, what will they need? They'll need a hotel. They'll need shops and restaurants. So all of that is part of the vision, and that's why we all benefit. And so if I could just leave you with one offer, but also one request for you and of you. Just as these companies are coming to UMass Lowell and to the city of Lowell to benefit from the talent that's available, the students and our faculty, we hope you will benefit from them at all. If you need interns, if you need co-ops, if you want our young alumni, our recent graduates, to bring a diverse, strongly talented workforce to your organization, let us know, because that's what we produce. We produce talent, and we want to share that talent with you. So thank you again for this award. We're very honored to be a part of this, very honored to have Greg Bialecki's name on this award, and we will cherish it. Have a great rest of your day.
Before we get to our keynote speaker, I do want to just say a few words, and I want to thank Greg Bialecki's family and friends for coming here today. This room is full of economic development people who knew Greg, and they probably all have a Greg Bialecki story. He made an impact on many people, as you can see, myself included. There would not be a Middlesex 3 coalition without Greg. We would not be here. And frankly, I don't know what I would be doing with my life. So he will be missed, and we are proud to be able to honor him for many years with the Greg Bialecki Impact Award. Thank you. Yep. So we're going to pivot. And at this time, I'd like to introduce and welcome our keynote speaker, Dr. Emily Reichert, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Massachusetts Clean Energy Center, the state's clean energy and climate tech economic development agency. Emily leads Mass CEC's efforts to build a robust, internationally competitive clean energy and climate tech economy in Massachusetts. Before joining Mass CEC in 2023, Emily served as CEO of Greentown Labs, the largest incubator in North America, for nearly a decade. Emily started her career at Arthur D. Little as a PhD scientist and progressed into R&D, business development, general management roles. And prior to Greentown Labs, she was the director of business development at Warner Babcock Institute for Green Chemistry, where she helped to grow angel-funded startups into sustainable contract R&D business, with a mission to minimize the environmental impact of chemical products. Emily holds a PhD in physical chemistry from the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and she earned her PhD from MIT Sloan School of Management. Please help me to welcome Dr. Emily Reichert.
All right, well, good morning, everyone, and thank you so much to Stephanie and the Middlesex 3 Coalition. Just so appreciative of the opportunity to speak to you all today, and just also want to say it's awesome that you're having this set up with all the companies in the back. I had sort of no idea what I was getting into, but it's so exciting that there's so many clean tech and climate tech companies here in this region. So just a really shout out to the vision there. I have my own Greg Bialecki story. At Greentown Labs, we're the largest climate tech incubator in North America. I kind of grew that for the last 10 years. At a very early point in Greentown's development, we were in a place, a space not unlike this, very open. We had just moved to Somerville, weren't sure where we were going as an organization quite yet, and we were going to, as part of the move to Somerville, do an announcement with the mayor of Somerville at that time, Joe Curtatone, and we had invited press, but who knew if they were going to come for, some little announcement in a warehouse in Somerville. About
4 o'clock on the day before the announcement, we heard that Greg Bialecki, then the Economic Development Secretary under Deval Patrick, was coming. A few hours later, we heard that the EEA Secretary and Energy and Environmental Affairs Secretary was coming. And then, I think it was a few hours before the announcement, we learned that the governor, Deval Patrick, was also coming. And I have to think that Greg Bialecki had something to do with that, in the sense that this was a person that really could see a big vision. Deval Patrick had made green tech, clean tech, a priority area in his administration for economic development. But Greg and having the EEA secretary there and the governor was a really auspicious start for Greentown in its new home in Somerville. Today, that organization has locations in 2 different states and 100,000 square feet in Somerville, has helped hundreds of startup companies. And so I'll give Greg Bialecki a little shout out for being at the very beginning of that and recognizing the potential. I also wanted to say that I've been at Mass CEC now as the CEO for just over a year, and this is already my 3rd visit to Billerica. So clearly there's some action going on here in climate and climate tech. Not to say the rest of the region isn't also doing good things, but just wanted to note that. And finally, I will note that it's going to be kind of hard to see slides up here today, but all of this information is on the Massachusetts Clean Energy Center's website. You go right to the first page. There is a report called the Climate Tech Economic Development Strategy and Implementation Plan. And so all of the slides I'm going to show today are right there and easy for you all to access. So let me start by saying a little bit about what the Massachusetts Clean Energy Center does. Now, probably can't read that too well, but what I can tell you is that we really work in 4 main areas that are all about having an impact on climate and economic development here in the Commonwealth. So first, we support young companies, like a number of those in the showcase this morning. And we do that through providing a series of grants through a small investment fund. And traditionally, we have focused on the very early stages of these climate tech startups and supporting them. Second thing we do is what we call accelerating decarbonization. This is taking technology that already exists in the marketplace and helping it get into homes and businesses faster. So, for example, EV vehicles, as you know, there are challenges whenever you are trying to put these in the environment at scale. What kind of challenges? Well, if you're like me, my house in Arlington, I don't have a garage. How do I charge? Mass CEC is really charged with figuring out the innovative solutions that help you solve problems like that. And if anyone is interested in what those solutions could be, you can check out our website, and there is a whole page of different work that we're doing specifically to address challenges around not only clean transportation, but buildings, and also, if you're interested, how we make our electric grid more innovative and able to address the new technologies that are coming online. Third thing we do is offshore wind. As you may know, there are 2 ports in our region. Mass CEC is responsible for both of those ports, supporting them. And first, we've got the one in New Bedford. We also have one that we're building in Salem, Massachusetts. Now, you may be wondering what's going on with offshore wind in this particular era that we're in. And what I can tell you is that the Commonwealth is in this for the long haul. We know that in order to decarbonize our grid, for us to have clean energy as our resource for the Commonwealth, it's got to be offshore wind. That is how we're going to meet our climate goals. So we will get there. And Mass CEC specifically can support infrastructure as well as setting up a supply chain of businesses who can support that industry and also building the workforce to support it. And then finally, we do a lot to build the workforce in the Commonwealth. This ranges from students who are in junior high all the way to folks that are getting reskilled in jobs that are going to allow them to go, for example, from doing insulation in a home or energy efficiency to learning how to do HVAC and receive a certification, which comes with a $25K and sometimes bump in take-home pay. So we are here for providing upskilling. We have a lot of grants that are available to partners who are community-based, who are educational institutions, all in service of building this workforce, because we know we need about 34,000 people to meet our climate goals by 2030. So that's a lot of workers that are needed, and we are well on our way to building that workforce. But what I'm really here to talk to you a bit more about today is what I just referenced that's on our website, which is our Climate Tech Economic Development Strategy. This was released back in February, and it really lays out a vision based on Governor Healy's goal and vision to make Massachusetts the climate innovation lab for the world. So I'm going to talk a bit more about how we plan to do that. But first, let me define climate tech. So first and foremost, whenever you think about climate, you probably think about greenhouse gases. And climate tech is technology that tries to reduce the amount of greenhouse gases in the environment. So you need to reduce those emissions from all sectors of the economy. Some you see listed here: transportation, buildings, industry and manufacturing. As well, though, climate change is already here. And so we need technologies that are addressing the need to adapt systems and people, frankly, infrastructure, to actually just withstand climate change that is already here. So, for example, you might think about technology that is providing sensor systems to know when flooding is going to occur. You might think about barriers to coastline or to also prevent flooding. So there's a lot of examples of technologies that are helping us adapt and become more resilient to climate change, and those are also included in climate tech. Now, why would the state invest in this area? Why is this important? Well, in addition to meeting our climate goals, in addition to the fact that there are many, many innovations needed if we're going to meet global net zero goals, Massachusetts is already a leader in this area. We are number one in climate tech startups per capita. We are number two in ecosystems in the climate tech sector. We have a huge amount of capital being invested in the sector already. We are one of the top states in that as well. So we're building on strength here, similar to what was done with the life sciences industry 15 years ago. And I believe Bialecki was a big part of that particular economic development push. We really see climate tech as something that we can really build on our strength and push forward in developing a new economic driver for the Commonwealth. So if we're so strong, why is it that we need to push on this? Well, it's true that we're very strong in what I would say up here are kind of the first three columns: research and development, prototyping, piloting, and launching new climate technology. What we are less good at and have less resources to support is once the companies get to the point where they've raised some investment, they build a team, and they're ready to demonstrate their technology, to test it in a real-world environment, and to start building that company with the number of people and the manufacturing facilities that really are the pathway that you go on in order to scale the company. The thing is, we have the resources, as I said at the beginning, to support those early stages. But today, we don't support the later stages. And that's really where we need to double down. What we can do, and what we found through the report that we commissioned to develop this economic development strategy, is think about the choices that startup companies need to make at the point where they get to the scaling phase. They need to make the choice about whether to stay here or to move on to another locale. And so the strategy is specific about trying to keep them here. I'll talk more about that in a moment. Why do we need to act now on this? Well, we are already facing competition from other states. Our companies, startup companies that are maybe even in this audience today, are receiving requests and offers from other states that are very well packaged, very attractive to move elsewhere. So we really need to be coordinated and organized and think about what's the best way to ensure that we keep this industry here and keep it growing here. Because we've got the talent, we've already got a good lead. So what do we need to do in order to grow? So we have a 3-part strategy, and all strategies should probably be able to be laid out in 3 parts. The first is invest, second, accelerate, and third is connect. I'm going to cover invest and connect in a moment, but accelerate is all about really making Massachusetts the best place in the U.S. for climate tech companies to locate. And that's about building a workforce and making that workforce available. It's about making sure that there are customers and partners who can help those companies test and demonstrate technology. And it's also about having ready spaces so that whenever companies are ready to manufacture, they can walk into a space like this and say, I can see my company here. And we, as state officials and city officials, town officials, make that as easy as possible for them. So this strategy is what we are already taking off on, working with each region of the Commonwealth in order to identify the strengths and where they can particularly focus those efforts. Some of the formatting is a little messed up here, so I'm really sorry about that. But what I can tell you is there are certain ways that we are going about implementing this strategy. So one of the first ways is through something called the Mass Leads Act. Some of you may have heard this passed, and especially if you're an economic development official, you probably have heard of this act. It passed the House and Senate, and the governor signed it last fall. And it is a roadmap for economic development in the Commonwealth. And there are several provisions in there that are specifically climate tech related. And those include funding to specifically support climate tech in a couple different capacities. So one is, I talked about companies needing to do demonstration and testing in a real world environment. So one of the provisions of this bill actually supports the capital expenditure investment that is needed in order to support those kind of endeavors. Secondly, there is funding specifically for tax incentives, not only to keep companies here and help them grow in terms of jobs created, some of these are refundable tax credits, but also how can we attract companies from outside of the state, be competitive in this sector that is a burgeoning sector here in the Commonwealth and elsewhere. That's one way we're going to do this. The second way is, you may have heard the governor talk about this, is through the concept of the climate corridor. What we did in this study, where we looked at what the Commonwealth is already strong at, what do we have to offer, and what do we still need to do, we looked at every region in the Commonwealth and identified what are the strengths in each particular region. And for those who can't see the small print up here, what I can tell you is that in the Berkshires, we identified an ag tech cluster. and also the space and capacity for large-scale manufacturing. In the Pioneer Valley, specifically around Holyoke, Springfield, there is a cluster of industrial decarbonization companies. In Central Mass, around Worcester, there are companies that are focused on waste and regeneration technology. Northeast and Greater Boston, which I know is covered in the Middlesex 3 coalition. I'm going to get to those in more detail in a moment. But as you'd expect, Southeast and the Cape, that's really about the blue economy. And how do we build on the offshore wind, the resources around science, marine science, and innovation that exists in that area. There are a lot of partners and assets already in place in each of these regions. And I think it's important to say that each of these partners that I have here on this slide, whether startup companies, folks that start and support startup companies, and also higher ed institutions, all of these were participating in this study and have helped us to think about the various strengths that are already there that we can build on. That said, there is an opportunity for each region to convene and think about what is it that your particular region has as strengths? What can we build on? What startups are already present? What large companies who could be partners and support a particular area of technology are already present? And how do we build up that? And again, I just want to say there's more detail on the website, but there are strengths in every single area of the Commonwealth that we can build on in order to really make sure that every part of the Commonwealth is positioned well and can benefit from economic development related to climate tech. So what do we hope to get out of this strategy? If we're successful, we anticipate working with 1,300 companies, and that's completely realistic because already we have 7,000 businesses in Massachusetts that are focused on clean energy. So we're just building from this number. 35,000 jobs. Well, today we actually have 115,000 jobs in the clean energy industry in Massachusetts. So we think that this is a pretty reasonable number to think about in the next 10 years, what kind of growth we can expect. And then finally, in terms of funds attracted, what that tends to mean is leveraging funds from other sources, whether that be private, capital, federal. For each dollar the state typically puts in, and this is a statistic specifically from MassCC, 7 times that is attracted through private and other capital. And so we expect that trend to continue. Focusing now specifically around Greater Boston, which is one part of the Middlesex 3 Coalition cluster, and the Northeast. I'd say that Greater Boston specifically has an incredible strength in just the cluster of startups that exist in all sorts of different areas of climate tech. Batteries, energy, agricultural tech are just a few of the areas that are represented. But as well, there are startups spinning out of the universities that are in these areas, in this particular area. What we know we need to do is make sure that, being that there are so many different startups and a real multitude of different sectors, we need to really focus and ensure that this area is thinking strategically about where we want to specifically grow. We've been talking to the city of Boston about that, but would welcome a discussion with any other cities and towns that are in this coalition. Where do we want to be strong in? In this area, it's probably multiple sectors. Northeast. So this is the area that includes Lowell, Salem, North Shore. We have lots of opportunities here as well. Obviously, we just heard about Lowell and the cluster around innovation that's building there. I think there's strength in manufacturing and supply chain. again, this is an opportunity that we want to highlight, that there is a lot going on, but what do we really want to lean into for climate tech? And so I welcome that conversation as well. You can see there are a few companies that I'm highlighting at the top. AM Batteries was one that I visited recently. That's a spin out of a local university. So lots of exciting things going on. And again, welcome to the conversation. What we've been doing over the past, well, actually we just kicked off the first one in the Pioneer Valley. We are gathering groups like this to try to understand what is it that each cluster or each region is interested in pushing forward. How are they interested in being part of this climate tech revolution? And what assets do they already bring to the table? And so we'd love to have that conversation with you. So future convenings. This is the opportunity I was just highlighting. We will definitely be in this region, probably more than one convening, but my team at Mass CEC is excited to talk to you about the opportunities in your area. Lots going on. We encourage you to follow Mass CEC on a variety of different platforms, including LinkedIn. We are happy to help any business in Massachusetts to get a foothold, to help connect you to resources that exist within the state. And Business Front Door is an initiative that is one that helps companies to kind of go through one portal to find everything they need from the state. And there's a specific concierge for climate tech that exists within Mass CEC. So again, I'll invite you to head over to our website where you can learn more about this strategy. But I want to thank you all for being here today, for your interest in climate tech, and just really want to, again, thank Stephanie, thank the coalition, and just really appreciate your interest. Thank you.
Yes, please.
Please help me thank again Dr. Emily Reichert for all her work here. Emily, thank you for coming. Hopefully, we will continue to see you and work with your staff and do more to develop this area for more climate tech companies. So there's a lot of work going on, and we continue to build on it. So thank you for all of your work. We appreciate it. At this time, our meeting is officially over, but I'd like to welcome you to continue to stay and to network.